Barbara Ehrenreich was an American activist author whose 2001 Nickel and Dimed on Not Getting By in America became a bestseller after revealing a hidden world of low pay and gender discrimination. Born into a working-class family in 1941, in 2013 she became an honorary co-chair of the Democratic Socialists of America, a non-profit group whose current membership includes Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Rashida Tlaib. She died in 2022 at the age of 81. Despite the importance of Nickel and Dimed, I think Ehrenreich will ultimately be best remembered for her 2007 Dancing in the Streets, which is nothing less than an alternative radical history of civilization since the time of the ancient Greeks. It concludes with a passionate call for the recovery of a crucial dimension of our humanity. Her analysis begins in ancient Athens with Euripides' play The Bacchae, where King Pentheus sets himself up against the female devotees of the god Dionysus. Ehrenreich argues that the play's central conflict, law, order, and sobriety versus collective joy, is one of the major themes of human history. The modern age, since the Protestant Reformation, has tilted the scales decisively against collective joy. Moving swiftly from Greece to Rome, Ehrenreich argues that the Jesus cult and later Christianity, with increasing reservations until the break produced by capitalism and Calvinism in the 16th century, was in many ways a continuation of Bacchanalianism, not the debased version of late Hellenism, but the ecumenical, buoyant version of ancient Greece. That can sound like a tenuous claim unless you're familiar with much modern scholarship concerning Christianity's origins, on which Ehrenreich draws persuasively. The Christian expression of collective joy reached its climax in medieval carnivals, which were genuinely democratic. At the end of that period, however, the elites withdrew from the festivities, whether out of fear or in an effort to maintain their dignity and distance from the hoi polloi is an open question. But since the participants were now solely, or almost solely, members of the subordinate group, their unity inevitably presented a challenge to the ruling classes. In short, henceforth collective joy had to be suppressed. She describes the historical consequence of that in Chapter 7, entitled An Epidemic of Melancholy. Beginning in England in the 17th century, she says, the European world was stricken by what looks like an epidemic of depression. The disease attacked both young and old, plunging them into months or years of morbid lethargy and relentless terrors. And of course, it's something from which we're still suffering. The modern world, the post-festive world she calls it, is characterized by A, spectacles, often with a significant military element, provided by the elites for the edification of the less well-off, B, meetings experienced in a sitting position and conducted according to strict rules of procedure, and C, the conversion of potential merrymakers into an audience, a homogenized mass of immobile non-participants. In Chapter 8, she looks at the way in which colonialism made considerable efforts to stamp out collective joy wherever it found it, but also in Chapters 10 and 11, the way that joy eventually re-emerged at the dead heart of the post-festive world in the form of rock music and sporting fandom, then the way the elites tried to, and may have succeeded in, pushing back the pushback. While capitalism has achieved the greatest repression of collective joy, it isn't exclusively to blame. The aspect of civilization, Ehrenreich says, that's most hostile to festivity is not capitalism or industrialism, but social hierarchy, which is far more ancient. When one class or ethnic group or gender rules over a population of subordinates, it comes to fear the empowering rituals of the subordinates as a threat to social order. Right at the end of Dancing in the Streets, the author comes close to endorsing a view of human nature, implicit throughout the book, that we're dancing creatures. The capacity for collective joy, she says, is encoded into us almost as deeply as the capacity for the erotic love of one human being for another. Why not reclaim our heritage as creatures capable of generating their own ecstatic pleasures out of music, colour, feasting, and love? In some ways, Dancing in the Streets builds on the insight Friedrich Nietzsche achieved in his 1872 The Birth of Tragedy, something Ehrenreich fully acknowledges. But Ehrenreich's choice of Pentheus to be Dionysus's foil, rather than Apollo, as Nietzsche preferred, cleverly underlines their political allegiances. This is a very well-argued book. It's also revolutionary. If you despair of societies it's turned out in the 21st century and you're looking for a way forward, you could do a lot worse than start here.